What's going on, guys? In today's video, I want to discuss with you how to build an effective weight loss routine that's based in science and creates lasting change. So almost all the clientele that have come to me up until this point have expressed a desire to lose weight. The first thing I set straight with my clients is I let them know that weight loss is a long process and it's through a sustainable, healthy lifestyle change where we get the best results possible. I also use certain strategies with every client regardless of their weight loss specific goal that I'm going to share with you guys now. So the first step to put you on the right track towards your weight loss goal is actually to figure out your calorie deficit number. We figure out our calorie deficit number by first looking at our energy balance in the day. Another way to think about it is the amount of calories you eat in the day is equivalent to the amount of calories you burn in the day. Now, if we want to be in a calorie deficit, we need to determine the total daily energy expenditure we're getting in the day, and then we're going to subtract a certain portion from that. Calories both count for the foods we ingest and eat, and also the amount of energy we expend. So therefore, the most important step in this process is making sure throughout your weight loss journey, you maintain a calorie deficit. This is because when we eat less than what is used by the body throughout the day, our body then starts to use our fat sources to provide energy for itself. You can also think that everything you've ever heard about dieting, exercise, or fitness and health related to weight loss is just different methods and ways to actually achieve a calorie deficit. For example, you may have heard of the keto diet before, which basically excludes carbs from your diet. Now, one of the benefits of doing this is we actually remove that food group, and therefore we get less calories from that macronutrient, and therefore our total amount of calories ingested in the day will theoretically be less. Now, although research shows that the keto diet is effective, people get misled into thinking that carbs are inherently fattening and bad for you, which is not the case at all. Again, it is rather the elimination of the carb macronutrient that helps us to get in the calorie deficit, not so much carbs themselves. Furthermore, fat is actually the most dense macronutrient, coming in at 9 calories per gram, versus carbs, which actually comes in at 4 calories per gram. So yes, being in a calorie deficit is the #1 way to lose weight and is actually the only way. That being said, let's move on, and I actually want to show you guys how to calculate your own calorie deficit number. After we calculate this number, I want to talk to you about how many calories we should subtract from that number and what are some different strategies we can utilize to make you as successful in your weight loss journey as possible. So to put it simply, guys, the total daily energy expenditure you're getting through the day is the combination between your resting metabolic rate and also your activity levels, in addition to the amount of thermic effect you get from food. Now, in my experience, just using a BMR and an activity estimator of how much energy you're expending through activity is enough to give you a good estimate of your total daily energy expenditure. Now, a quick search on Google will give you a BMR calculator that you can use. You're going to need to know some of your basic body composition metrics, such as your height, your weight, gender, and age. So once you put in your basic information, it's also going to ask you how much energy you think you expend during the day. Now, again, this is an estimate, but keep it as close to what you think you burn in a day. So now that we have this number and we know we need to subtract a certain figure from it, how much calories should we actually subtract? Should we not just subtract a super large amount of calories just so we can reduce weight quickly? Well, the answer is a bit more complicated than that, and it depends on your individual circumstances and preferences. However, most of the literature sites, guys, we want to maintain a calorie deficit between 500 and 1,000 calories subtracted from our total daily energy expenditure. Now, because a pound of fat weighs 3,500 calories, we can calculate quickly that if we're in a 500 calorie deficit a day, we're going to lose a pound of fat. And if we're in 1,000 calorie deficit a day, we're going to be losing around 2 pounds of fat a week. So healthy weight loss, again, is cited of a calorie deficit between 500 and 1,000 calories taken off your total daily energy expenditure. This will result in a more sustainable approach to losing weight as opposed to cutting a ton of calories off the gate. Another consideration is that the body adapts readily to the amount of calories you give it. And if we cut calories substantially off the beginning, we will actually reduce our metabolism early on in our program, and it'll be hard to continue to lose weight in the later stages down the road. So the best course of action that I give my clients usually is to make sure that we're only doing smaller amounts in that calorie deficit subtraction at first, and over time we can increase it through various methods. This will result in greater adherence to your new weight loss program and also give you a bit of leeway if, for example, you go over a bit one day. And it's also just more realistic and gives you a better perspective on how much you need to eat less during the day. So now that we know the total amount of calories we need to eat in a day to produce the weight loss goal we're after, now we need to make some decisions of what methods we need to use to actually reduce our calories. So the best course of action as cited in the literature is to both decrease our calories through means of dieting and also increase the amount of activity we're doing in a day. This is for a couple reasons. Number one, the combination of reducing the amount of calories we're eating in the day and increasing our energy expenditure actually has a summation effect and is often cited as being more successful for long-term weight loss. For example, 1-year follow-up study in a clinical trial comparing diet-only interventions versus diet and exercise interventions showed that there's a 20% greater loss in weight with the diet plus exercise group. Moreover, there's quite a bit of evidence to suggest that individuals that continue to be physically active throughout and even after their weight loss intervention show that they actually maintain the weight they lost versus people that didn't engage in activity. It appears that the more physical activity you do both during and after your weight loss helps to offset the amount of weight regained after your weight loss intervention. For example, in several follow-up studies ranging from months to years after an exercise and diet plan showed that the individuals that maintain their exercise regimens maintain the amount of weight they lost during their program. The total amount of minutes you need to accumulate in the week to have this desired effect of maintaining our weight loss is between 200 and 300 minutes a week. So that takes us into the first strategy we can use to actually increase the amount of calories we burn, and that is increasing the amount of activity we do in the week. Now again, the number of 200 to 300 minutes of physical activity a week appears to be the standard to both help and reduce weight throughout the exercise program and weight loss program, and also after once the program's complete. We can also increase physical activity through means of just living an active life. Things like walking more, things like engaging in more activities, and reducing our sedentary behavior all plays a role in adding to our overall energy expenditure in the day. So the second thing we can do to really help with our weight loss journey is to increase the amount of protein we consume a day. This is for a variety of reasons, and protein has been heavily researched and has been cited as being quite effective in weight loss routines. Number one, protein has a high thermic effect of food. Now, as we talked about earlier, every time you ingest food, you're actually burning calories to break down the nutrients to absorb in the body. And protein is the most metabolically expensive to break down, meaning you're actually burning more calories by eating protein than any other of the macronutrients. Also guys, another big reason why we need to eat more protein in our diet is it actually maintains our resting metabolic rate, or BMR, while we're losing weight and dieting. Now this is extremely important because as we lose weight, we're gonna start to reduce our overall metabolism, and engaging in both resistance training and upping our protein intake has been shown to actually preserve or even increase lean mass while we're reducing weight. Another reason why protein is so important to have in our diets, guys, is it's the most satiating, or it's the most hunger reducing macronutrient. So this helps offset hunger pangs that come along with being in a calorie deficit and are really important for us to start to manage. And protein is a great way to do this. High protein diets in general are good for actually improving or maintaining our body composition and helping all cause metrics to improve our overall weight loss plan. Now, the amount of protein we need to have in our diet is about 25%, or between 1.2 and 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. So another thing, guys, we want to think about when we're designing our weight loss plan is to make sure we're eating foods that we actually like to eat. None of this chicken, rice, and broccoli nonsense that bodybuilders have been preaching over the years. It's more about that sustainable lifestyle. If I had to eat broccoli for the rest of my life, I would have broccoli coming out my ears and I would just be not liking life. I've done it before and I've I maybe lasted 6 weeks before I just had to give it a break. You gotta make sure you're eating a well-balanced diet and including foods you like. There's nothing wrong with doing keto, and there's nothing wrong with doing a high-carb diet either. Again, we need to change our perspective from defending a specific diet and starting to make a transition to what type of lifestyle changes need to take place for us to effectively get to our weight loss goal. As we've talked about, the calorie deficit is what determines our weight loss, and the methods to get there are numerous, and it depends mostly on what you want to do with your weight loss journey and what type of foods you like. Moving on, guys, another thing I want you to do on your weight loss program is actually include treats in foods you know you crave when you're on a diet. Now, this is because everybody's going to get cravings. We're all human. We all go through stressful situations, and to have those treats readily available just to eat in small amounts is important to avoid big binges later down the road. Now, I'm not saying you have a license to eat that food every day and whenever you feel like it. I'm just saying that it's a good way to manage our cravings, as we will inevitably get some throughout this plan. It's important to make sure we're managing these cravings and not just ignoring them, as they amount to bigger problems later down the road. So another thing I do with my clients, and I recommend that you guys do as well, is to actually track your food. Now, some people are against this and some people actually prefer not to do this, and I understand. But if you want to be very consistent and understand what the weight of how many calories a food has, I would make sure we're tracking our calories daily. Now, this has another important element, and that is it keeps us on track with our diet throughout the week. And we can see that we're monitoring our success daily. You can simply plug in the calorie deficit number you got earlier into the app and shoot for that every day. For individuals that don't like tracking your food, that's okay. Another thing you can do is just make sure you're monitoring your portion size and putting at least half the plate of vegetables, a good amount of carbs on there, and a good amount of protein on your plate. We want to make sure we're also tracking our progress throughout this journey and make sure that the methods we put in place are actually meeting our goal. I usually advise people to weigh themselves weekly or bi-weekly and to look for the trend they're seeing over the month and not just the individual differences. This is important because daily differences and fluctuations in our weight are very common, and one day our weight might be higher and one day the weight might be lower, but again, we need to see the total trend. Again, also think that when you're stepping on the scale, that is a snapshot in time and is not the overall course of action the body is currently taking to reduce weight. Once we start to see our weight plateau, it could be for numerous reasons, but one of the things is we may need to continue to reduce our calories and also periodize or change up our training plan through methods of reducing the amount of calories we're eating or increasing the amount of energy we're expending in the day. So I hope you got a lot out of this video and you're better equipped to reach your weight loss goals now. Hope you guys have a great day, and thanks for watching.